I'm sorry, I was muted. Again, welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, the coach in the building, Coach Ferg, as we bring you certainly another show, hopefully to inform, to educate people, and to give some perspective. These two bald-headed dudes who simply want people to do better, especially young people, young generation, have access to resources that you could use to help in your personal development. And so we just certainly give our advices and certainly share some perspective on our end, how we were able to do that for ourselves and for our families. And so we're just very excited about the opportunity. Certainly share that with you today, but certainly good to have you guys with us. Make sure when you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button as you come in. Certainly it helps our algorithm greatly when you do that. Also, just certainly for the chat. Again, we always put these disclaimers up. Again, no personal attacks, insults, or threats. Avoid offensive language, including slurs based on race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. Be courteous and polite, certainly to everyone. So again, we appreciate that kind of candor in the chat. Make sure we keep it respectful. And again, like with all our shows, certainly take what you can use. And, we want to get you thinking in different ways so you can certainly do better and be better. But certainly, Coach, how you doing tonight, sir?
What's up, Brother Benny? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little shallow, just
Low.
tad, a tad
Is that
shallow.
better? I like.
Can you turn it up just a little bit more?
Is that better right there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's better. Okay.
Hang on, I'm doing a change myself here. Just hang on a second.
Yeah.
I got to do a little adjustment because I had that. I think I had the wrong camera up. So let
No,
me
you
just
was
go.
good. Go ahead. Yeah, man. Just man, just thankful, man. Just thankful. Just in a good space, man. You know, all this foolishness going around. I'm just blessed to be in the space that I'm in, man. Even with the issues that I have personally,
Hmm.
I try to eliminate, people who not giving, who don't feed into my. I don't know, just part of my. I love people. I've
Hmm.
always been able to be around different cultures, ethnicities, and just never really had problems with race.
Same here. Yeah, it's
You
never.
know,
Yeah.
I've always been able to be myself.
Hmm.
I'm not going to have, the relationships I would have on YouTube, I wouldn't have in society unless, it was a balanced
Hmm.
crowd. I wouldn't, if I was in a room with all white folk, I wouldn't be trying to have no political, conversation. Black folk, I can understand how people have their views, but I may not align with it all. And I just sort of keep it at a very minimum, just on YouTube when I saw that space sort of gets convoluted that way. But just again, man, just looking at life, man, being the age that I am, my birthday is Sunday, Super Bowl
Oh
Sunday,
wow! Happy birthday.
and life is good. Me and my wife been celebrating all week, and so again, man, outside of my physical self, man, everything else, I sort of again, man, just keep it on cruise control, always moving forward, praying a lot, and I pray wherever. Sometimes I'll be online and just be in my mind, just praying
Hmm.
about something. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I've always took that approach with my life, even as a kid. Um, I seen the best and the worst from us, from people that look like me, within my
Hmm.
own family. So
Hmm.
I just keep it all in perspective, man. I'm a Gen X man. I've always thought and took things to heart. Like I can learn from somebody else's mistakes and successes. So if you do something that is a mistake that I've deemed that could jeopardize my safety and my health, I would not do it. Like I said, my father was an alcoholic all of my life. Drink heavy. I used to watch him drink, Brother Bennett, man,
Oh
almost a
yeah.
fifth straight. And I,
Mine did exactly the
you
same
know,
thing. You
I've
get
never judged him for it though. I
right.
never judged. I used to look at him like, man, how you do it? Because when it came to me, he showed up. When I acted up in school, he was there. When I was playing sports, he was, my mother showed up too, but he was there yelling my name. He was there telling me to get it together when he saw me because he understood that. And even
Hmm.
walking through the streets and life, man, I just been blessed, man.
Yeah.
I should just write a book, but I've always been proud to just own it for myself. I'm older now,
Hmm.
so the stuff that I did, people can only wish they did what I did. And
Yeah.
I wasn't a big picture guy. I'll take a picture, but as far as walking around, I gotta show this. It's something I think about.
Hang
Like,
on. Every other show, you got to put a picture of yourself from your kid years, your
yeah,
teenage years, when you had all the muscles, when you were
yeah,
35. You always putting some up. So I'm not
yeah.
buying that from you.
No, what I'm saying is I appreciated that intimacy that I had with my relationships with friends, places I went. I just always appreciated it. And I can, like I said, I reminisce now. I'm showing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have never showed the pictures and stuff I show now. I'm old, man. I'm married. I ain't going nowhere. So I can just, but yeah, I don't know, man. Just be a lot going on, man. I'm excited, really, about the country in a sense. I'm sort of excited because
Hmm.
just through my military experience and what I learned from that point and been able to stay in contact with as far as how the country will be moving, I just try to adjust to it.
Right.
And I just, I'm just happy in a sense that where what I put positions I put myself in based off the dumb stuff I was doing. Most of that stuff came with women or just outside. But
Hmm.
once I learned from that and got past that, I've always just tried to be a better person, you know.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I'll say it's not shut up, man. And this is big, man. The feeling, like when I talk about feelings, those are intimate and personal to me. You know what I'm saying? That's part of my spiritual connection, right? Like I can befriend people and not have my feelings involved. So if they did something shisty, I could just disconnect from it. I didn't have to be pondering and oh man, this person and go. I can make new friends over here.
Hmm.
I can see you and be respectful. Hey, but as far as us, doing anything where we walking in somewhere together, probably never happen again. And I've been able to do that because all of my life I've had friends all over the city where I grew up. Then I had friends all over the country. You know what I'm saying? All over the state and all over the world. So I don't get my feelings involved too much when I'm getting to know somebody.
Hmm.
My respect is always there. You know what I'm saying? But if
Yeah.
Brother Bennett and I should have if you say you don't want to talk to me no more, I ain't gonna be crying on YouTube. Oh, Brother Bennett, man, see dog. I'll just be like, okay, it's just part of that puzzle
Hmm.
that God sent me through, and I can learn from the information that I got how
Hmm.
to saying just hold on to my dignity and my spirit based off what I experienced from yourself or anybody else. But I'm always respect you. I'm always respect people, regardless of how people react to me and treat
I
me.
got you.
So,
Let me ask you since you open that up before we get into the show. Do you have an inner circle, like a
yeah,
personal circle, who you that guys you
it's
really close to?
it's gotten tighter and tighter. I've got elementary school friends. Uh, it's a simple group. I got three people that's three guys, right? Three of us have always worked hard. One of my best friends I met in college, he went through so much as an adult, black
Hmm.
man. He's been locked up. He has felonies, but the resiliency that he's shown based off how me and him used to have connections, because when he was serving that time, I was out serving people.
Hmm.
So when I was able to connect with him, sometime I used to tell him, like, man, you just got. Now he's making $80,000 in his early 50s, got a son, get ready to graduate college, been married now. You know what I'm saying? His life is nothing like where he started. And to see things like that, I'm proud of those connections. And even some of the young men that I used to work with, they're out here in the world doing it. I
Hmm.
sort of protect their image and identity until they're ready to come to the world
Hmm.
and say, you know what I'm saying, this is me. I don't like to say, oh, yeah, because if you notice when I talk about working with young people, I don't say specifics. I just say the group and those people are out here doing it because they keep in contact.
Right.
They check in, but they doing great. From
Right.
what they doing great, man.
Yeah.
So
What you're saying, you just kind of give me some inspiration here that maybe we might want to do a show. Because again, you said you've got some lifelong friends that you're still tight with. Some may have made some decisions that maybe weren't the right ones. They had to pay the price for those. You kept doing your thing, but you're still close. And I think for a lot of, especially for young people, sometimes they don't know when. I guess some guys you have to let go of, but then there's some that you still can keep close in your circle. Maybe you might want to share on a future show how you can navigate that. Because again, I agree with you that just because a person did time doesn't mean that they're a bad person, nor they can't be redeemed and get their stuff back together. He was able to do that, but it wasn't like you didn't abandon him when he made his choices. And so, but again, a lot of people don't know sometimes how to navigate it. A lot of people just say, cut off anything that's not in your lane, just cut it off. You didn't do that. But I think that there may be a time to cut off. And I think that for a lot of young people, they don't know necessarily when to make that decision. And so how you've been able to maintain this group and keep certain people in your life and not, I mean, it may be specific to an individual situation, but I would love to, have a show where I want to talk to you more about that and what advices you can give to young persons about, who to have in your circle, just maybe some general guidelines, and then you can share some of your personal perspective. I think that would be a very useful show because that's the big thing now. But literally before I was running to come to the show, I was literally talking to my daughter about a friend of hers, and I was just trying to get some perspective because this friend of hers may need some place to stay for a while. And my daughter was kind of sort of offhand kind of saying, well, can she stay with us? Because she's in a bind, and I'm kind of asking questions about her and whatnot and saying, kind of trust my daughter a little bit. Like, again, I didn't give her a decision, but if she's got to stay with us for a few days or a couple weeks or something until something comes through, we got to talk about that. And especially these days, sometimes you open up their doors like anything else, you can't get them out. Squatters are running wild. So again, those are just some things that we have to have those kind of conversations. So again, I'm like, yes, I know she's a friend of yours, but is this friend good for you? Are you looking at this whole thing with the right perspective? So I think helping young people navigate friendships like that. And the fact that you can say that you have friends who, again, from all different types of backgrounds, and again, they made some life choices that you didn't necessarily make.
sure.
How you able to maintain that? So I want to bookmark that, and we can talk about that next time we meet. Scheduling shows, but I might want to put that on, and more so in an interview type of format, and see how you navigate. I think a lot of young people will really benefit from that. So you just
I can do that.
we going off script a little bit, ladies
No,
gentlemen,
no,
tonight.
yeah.
But I
And,
definitely want to raise that.
and what I can do, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to reach out to one of my little proteges from high school and see if he's willing to come on and just answer a few questions about the experiences that he had with me.
Hmm.
And based off the adversity that he was going through, just a little backstory real quick. His father was in prison, and his father was sort of promoting him being a little thuggish, ruggish. But the dude was so talented, and we had those conversations, and we used to start getting into him. And man, the dude. He's doing what I was doing, but his accomplishments along the way were
Hmm.
I was astonished. I was just in amazement of that.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'll reach out to him. I get his number. I got it. I got his contact.
Okay.
He's
Good.
busy, man. He's doing a lot. And I'll say this, brother Bennett, in reference to your situation, right? I'm gonna give you one golden nugget. Put it in a lease. Put everything in a lease. Is all I'm saying. Because you already bought off some concerns, right? Put
Hmm.
it in the lease, the expectation. That way you ain't gotta argue about it. You ain't gotta go back and forth with your daughter. Write it down, the time frame she gonna be there, what she gonna be doing, what she contributing, and put a date on it. She signed and dated, and then she get a copy, you get a copy. That's the easy. I'm going through that right
Well,
now.
I don't know if I would call that easy because what I have seen is leases get you get written leases and you get litigation for a while. I've seen
No,
that
no,
happen all the time.
but but
So,
it,
but
but
again,
it's simple.
that's an
Yeah, let's
let's
just.
flesh
I'm
that
just
out.
helping you,
We
man.
can talk offline when it comes to that. But we got some chatters coming through, so I just want to acknowledge some of the people coming in.
Notes.
Average man, thank you for stopping through tonight. Shining Light 25, thank you for
What's up,
being
brother?
here. Our guy from all the way from the UK, our guy Craig, certainly doing well. Glad you stopped by. We got Pagoda D, who's here tonight. We don't do links to the show. This is not for interaction, but certainly, if you do have some, based on what we talk about tonight, if you do have some interaction, we do have one show. It's called The Gray Area. It comes on Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and once a month we have a call-in show. So you may want to just stay tuned to the Sparta HQ Network, and if that opportunity opens up, certainly you may have an opportunity to do so. But just for brevity and just for the pace of the show, we don't necessarily invite guests unless that guest is scheduled to be on the show. But we appreciate certainly you stopping on through certainly tonight. And also, ladies and gentlemen, certainly as certainly if you do have questions, here's certainly one way you can certainly interact with us on the show. You can say certainly come to drop a question if you have a question for us. Ask the coaches. Next Gen Training, NXT Gen Training 101 at gmail.com. You can certainly go there and certainly drop your questions there, and we can actually use those certainly as a basis for a conversation in the show, and certainly bring up your concerns. So certainly that is something that you're more than welcome. Drop your comments there, and we can certainly get into it through that medium as well. But again, just for brevity's sake, we want to keep the show tight, and so we don't typically bring up guests on a random. But certainly any questions that you might want to ask in the chat, certainly if time permits, we can certainly deal with some of that. But with that, let us get into the topic tonight. So last week we talked about life insurance, and again, I know that's a topic that a lot of people don't want to necessarily talk about, whatnot. But specifically, we talked about why young people should get it, because every time you hear about life insurance, you hear about older people and whatnot, and if you have families to protect. But again, for a lot of young people, you need to also think about life insurance as well. So again, if you go back to last week's show, and certainly go there and get our insights on it. And again, we're only giving that insights. We're not financial advisors. There's professionals that deal with that. We're just kind of giving you, again, perspective and some things to think about as you go through the process of examining, the choices and what are the options that are out there. Make sure you get with a professional on that. So again, and we don't offer any things that we're not experts in. But again, we want to give you perspective. And that same dynamic is going to take place tonight, because tonight we're going to talk about health insurance. And again, this is going to be from the perspective, again, of young people, because there's still, even though you may have options out there, there's still people either uncovered or they may not know the coverage that they may be eligible for. And so, and again, this conversation may be a little bit localized, certainly for those in the UK and those from other countries. You may have a national healthcare system that may work a bit differently than ours. So this will definitely be from certainly an American point of view. But, certainly we wanted to engage in this topic because, again, I think it's just as important. Just as you don't want to be a burden on your family or to yourselves by not having life insurance, the same thing happens with health insurance. But again, as currently as it stands, you do have some options when it comes to types of coverage that you may already have and you may not know about already. So we just want to kind of get into this a little bit, but there's still gaps. So again, there's certain people, depending on your income level. Certainly there's people who are covered under Medicaid, which again is a national type program for, people of low income or for seniors and, people who don't have health insurance. And you have the marketplace subsidies where you can certainly buy through an exchange in this country, especially if you don't get health care covered through an employer. But you still have this middle ground where you still have some people who may not have coverage. And so we want to be mindful of that, and how can people get into some coverage of some kind, or how you can do things in case if there is a medical emergency or what have you. How can you get into how you can get into some coverage that where you're protected in case something happens. You never know. Nothing's guaranteed when you leave your house, and you don't want to be set up with a certainly with a big bill. But before we get headlong into this, Coach, any just sort of high level opening that you want to have in terms of health insurance and why it's so important for especially for younger people to consider.
Yeah, just with the whole concept of health insurance, it's almost like one of those catch 22. It puts you in between the rock and the hard place, right? Because when you're young, you're more active, you're more prone to take more risks. And you could just on the whim on a weekend decide to go paraskiing or something, and just trying to have a active life, but then you can have a major accident. And starting with children, they're so active and growing and learning, and things happen. Yeah, it gets a little tricky because just based off this chart, right? Just based off the monies that's going into insurance, uh, the medical industry gets 60, 70% of the dollar. Uh, and insurance is one of those you need it. You don't need it until you need it. And so it's quite expensive. So I'm fortunate that we've just gotten to a place now, even with my wife, with me, we don't have to pay for medical insurance anymore.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's been a blessing. But I think it's something that, and be quite honest, when it comes to younger America, I don't think a lot of people really take it as serious,
Hmm.
especially with medical, because it's something that the government sort of already provides some form of it. Uh, and when you get into working, especially with the economy changes, when you work, sometimes medical can be a little bit, maybe a third of a paycheck.
Hmm.
When you have families and things like that, when you
Yeah,
start
it
getting
can grow
families,
exponentially. It seems
yeah,
like. I
so,
mean, you can get some decent coverage as a single, but once you get married, it goes up, and once you have kids, and it doesn't matter
mhm,
how many kids you have. You have one kid, and it can like triple from that of a or quadruple from that
mhm,
of a single person. And just for definition's sake, this if you look at this chart here where it says FPL, that means federal poverty line, and the
mhm,
current number for that is $15,650 per individual. So basically, in terms of the coverage you get, if you're certainly below those kind of numbers, if you skew
mhm,
to the left, you're going to be steered more so into a Medicaid pool.
yeah,
The more the more income you make to the right of that, you can get again to the marketplace, and you have a lot more
yes,
options in terms of what you can get as well. And again, we'll talk about that. Certainly the benefits of having something certainly beyond just having a Medicaid type of program. Again, certainly for seniors or for those who have a very little income, or certainly those who are below the poverty line. That is really what that option is. And like I said, you can only get only so much with that. Certainly the more economically sound you are, you have a lot more options in terms of what you can certainly take advantage of. So I just wanted to kind of show this, just kind of set the conversation. But let's get into the reasons why you should get it. So Coach kind of gave a high level, but I know there's four in particular that I wanted to highlight in terms of reasons that you need to get health insurance. So the first one here, I think I messed up my slides here. Again, the cost. I mean, all you need is just one medical situation, and
one,
that can wipe out any savings that you have. And
mhm,
so, so those are things that, you have to be mindful of what it costs to do anything that's out of pocket. Even if you go now, I know a lot of areas, I know what's happened in the last, say, 15, 20 years, a lot of the clinics certainly are cheaper than hospitals, for example. Like you go to the emergency room, that's $100. Like not even without even thinking about it, that's $100 to go to the emergency room. So a lot of the healthcare clinics kind of give you a bit more flexibility versus going down to the hospital. But again, The flip side of that is they may not give you all the services that you may need. X-rays. I mean, some offer X-rays or whatnot, but if you need MRI, CAT, and whatnot, that's they're going to basically say go to the hospital, and so you have to be mindful about those things and the cost of those things can get. But yeah, I mean, if you need a flu shot or something like that, then yeah, or you may have COVID or something, you can certainly go there and certainly get checked out. But certainly for anything major, anything surgical, you have to be mindful of those things. So as you said earlier, Coach, I mean, certainly a younger person, more at risk. I mean, I'd be still seeing guys 25 still on their skateboards, jumping on the stairs and sliding down on the skateboards or whatnot. It's like these guys are crazy. I mean, every time I watch YouTube, you got these guys doing these crazy stunts and whatnot, and still thinking again that they're invincible, and they're not. And sometimes it's like certain things that they find out. If you are putting at-risk activity, in fact, a lot of employers, they'll tell you up front, there's a lot of at-risk activity that if you want this job, you can't be participating in. So if you want to go skydiving, that might be, I don't know if that's an activity you might want to participate in. If jobs set up certain rules, if they're gonna offer you some sort of medical coverage, then there's certainly at-risk activities that you need to be mindful of. But certainly, medical costs is obvious. Another one here, again, to get it before it's too late. Okay, so again, like I said, no one knows when things going to happen. When you may get something diagnosed, you be feeling perfectly fine, and then find out that you have something that you weren't expecting. A lot of diseases now that you would think only older people got, now you have children getting diabetes and things of that nature. So again, you have to be mindful of that when it comes down to not delaying that, thinking I got time, or I'll wait until I settle down, or I'll wait until I have a family before I start considering health insurance. Now, even as a young, healthy individual, that is certainly something you need to prioritize. Also, again, having health insurance, again, access to better medical care. So again, like I said, certain insurance, certain doctors, certain specialists, again, depending on what the situation is, if you don't have a good health insurance, then again, you may be blocked out of certain things, and certain doctors may take Medicaid. A lot of them don't, because that's basically a deal between the government and the physicians or the physician company. But certainly you want to, there's certain things that you need to get done. You don't necessarily want your lack of health insurance to be a blocker to that. I know people who they had a situation, they had a stroke, but they didn't have any health insurance. They couldn't get any therapy, to help recover. So they're just kind of in this situation, and the hospital, they might have some sort of Catholic charity care or something like that, but they didn't have anything for which to get the treatment that they needed after whatever situation happened, the stroke or whatever it was. So those are things that you have to be mindful of. And the last thing here is certainly there's a saving aspect. We're going to talk about this towards the end of the show. There are some tax benefits that you can take advantage of that'll help you save some money in the long run, and you can do some things with that money in the long run if you take advantage of some of the provisions that are out there that you can benefit from. But Coach, anything you want to touch on as far as any of these points here, as far as things what stuck out to you?
I mean, yeah, just sort of what I spoke about earlier. The way you just summed it all up and broke it all down, right? And it's funny. I got two stories, right? One is about even now, if you have a child outside of wedlock, it's important. You want to make sure you understand your state rules and regulations when it comes to that. So you may be required to get insurance. It will lower your support, but that medical insurance for your child is important, because if you don't have it, you can be charged a bill in a full amount if you don't have it. So it's important to do that. But I'll give you a little story about when I was young, right? Man, my mom having insurance. And I remember being in high school that, my mom, she trusted us. She trusted all of us, me being 14, 15. She would give me her medical card if something happened to me.
Hmm.
Man, when I used to have to go to the dentist, he was like, "Here, you take the card," and I would go and conduct the business and get the card and sign, do all of that. But I remember one time I was playing ball at a community center. This is probably the first time she did it, and they had those mats on the walls that you see
Hmm.
in the
Yeah,
gym,
yeah, yeah.
and it was a nail that I went to go block a shot and
Oh,
I missed
yeah,
it in the head of the nail. It was one of them little
yeah,
thin nails. Went in, and when I pulled it, it just pulled out the fat meat right here, and it was
hmm,
hanging out. And so when I
yeah,
walked home, which was about 30 minutes, and then I showed my mama, and my mama got into a big panic. I said, "Mama, I'm okay. Just give me the card, and I'll go to the emergency room." She's like, "Yeah." So I ended up walking to the emergency room, and when I got to the emergency room, the doctors were like, "Okay, so where your parents?" I was like, "Man, my mama's at home." Like, "What you doing?" I said, "Yeah, she gave." I said, "I told her don't come." They're like, "You told her not to come," because they was, wondering why I was there by myself. But I was a teenager. I said, "Yeah." I said, "This don't." They's like, "Does it hurt?" It looked like it hurt. I was like, "No, it's all right. It just my fat meat came out, and they talked to me and stitched it back up." And I've always sort of been mindful of not to injure myself
yeah,
and not have to pay that expense. But
yeah,
I'll say this right here again: with the better medical care when you're paying for it in your job, there's still a limited options in a sense.
mm,
And I don't know if we're going to touch on it about the time frame when you are allotted to purchase your insurance coverage for the year.
mm.
That what sometimes they open up at the end of the year for a period of time.
Well, I
For,
know it's typically open enrollment for a lot of plans starts in November,
yeah, something like that.
and
Yeah,
then it goes until like the end of the month. So you have it right. So you have enrollment windows that you have
yeah,
to surely meet. Typically, like I said, November is when things open, and but usually with an employer, you don't necessarily have to enroll. They'll
yeah.
basically roll it over. Like if you whatever coverage you have from the previous year, if you make no changes at all, or if you don't choose to opt out, it'll
Mm-hmm.
just go into the next year with the same coverage. But certainly that open enrollment period, again, depending on changes that you make, did you have another child in that year? Did you have, or some sickness or something in that year? Did you get married in that year? So it just gives you an opportunity to just give like an assessment of your life, how things are currently standing. And if you need to make a change, that is your window with which to do it. So again, it's definitely something worth visiting after a while, especially when you have those life changing marriage, children, illnesses, and the marketplace. What the companies may be offering in terms of different coverages. You might be with one provider, you might want to switch to another one, or like I said, especially if you do get married, if your spouse has insurance, do some comparison shopping. Maybe she has a better coverage for less, especially if she works for the state. Usually, from what I've seen in my experience, those who work for states typically get better prices and still get top tier coverage versus other plans. That's why, like my wife, like I've always kind of been in her plan because she worked for the state. Like I'll do the comparisons and whatnot, and it's almost like it's a no brainer, and I don't have to worry about dealing with another provider, and then my
Right.
doctor's not covered certainly by that network or whatever. We'll talk a little bit about that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so these are certainly things that you have to be mindful of. But those enrollment periods give you a chance to really assess what you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you don't have too little or sometimes too much.
Yeah. Brother Benny, it's funny that you say your wife worked for the state. Also, that is applicable for people who work in the medical industries. They get those low premiums. And the uniqueness about me and my wife, I've never had to be on her. She's carried me in the last 3 or 4 years, but it assists her. But I've never accepted a company plan.
Hmm.
I've never had to because I've always had the VA, which is the top tier. I don't pay for prescriptions. I don't pay for
Right,
specialties. So
right.
I've never accepted it. But yeah, she's carried me in the
Right.
last.
Now let me ask you, but since you brought up the VA, and shout out to King Smith, another one of our vets, certainly in the chat tonight. Salute for you being here. Talk about that because I've heard sort of mixed mixed stories on the VA. Obviously, there have been changes to the VA over the years in terms of has it gotten better? You're saying it's the best. Is it really better than private care in hospitals at the point? Because I like I said,
Yes.
depending on who I ask, I've talked to several
Yes.
veterans, and it's
But,
always
but
been, it's always been different. Even in the last few
so,
years, it's changed a bit.
so I can assure you how you can always decipher what that particular soldier did in the military. Always, if anything anytime you hear a potential veteran talk bad about the military, just ask them, did they get an honorable discharge? Now, if you
Mm,
get a dishonorable discharge, it doesn't matter how old you get. It's very, very, very. I guess the opportunity to get medical is very limited, very few. Most, but almost every soldier I know who's got an honorable discharge, regardless of what age they are, they can always get medical. A dishonorable discharge in the military, that's like going to prison for 20 years. They treat you like a stepchild.
hmm
So if you run into veterans and they are not getting the care that they need, then they did something bad. And they got a dishonorable And I say this about it. A lot of veterans go into service, they may get hurt. But instead of trying to focus on being hurt, they be all you can be soldiers and they get out and they may have to file a claim for disability and sometimes they wait too long. And they may not go. The thing about the military, if I get hurt, I go to the doctor in the military. They're gonna look at it, treat it, give it everything. Now say 5 years after I get out, I start having knee problems, toe problems that I messed hurt in the military. They're
hmm
gonna back pay me all of that money until that time when I get out of the service. And they're gonna give me a percentage of 100% every month based off a set amount that I will get for the rest of my life.
mm,
But you have to have an honorable discharge.
right,
That's the
right.
catch. So if and most veterans who know that they have honorable discharge, they won't really talk about
hmm
it in a negative way because they're going to get the resources because the veterans are going to get all the resources.
Right. Now, I guess are there areas like you talk about military? So I know there are vets that deal with like mental issues, right?
Yes,
PTSD,
yes.
things like that. How is like the psychological care
It's
from?
improved. They've
Mhm.
increased the services because there wasn't a lot of people reporting that type of mental anguish.
Mm,
It was
yeah.
more physical.
hmm
And now over the last 10 years, now everybody's mental. So they have hired more people who qualified. I have a mental, a PT, I don't know what to call it, but he talks to me about my health, trying to be active, but knowing my conditions are getting worse. You know, it's just to keep me, to make ensure that I'm active in life. That's the thing. They want you to try to be as active in life because they
hmm
understand issues that soldiers go through. Most soldiers, like I said, a lot of older veterans who held positions, you still see the pride in those individuals when they go to the hospital.
hmm
But the things that they were able to be in charge of in the military, they're no longer there. So they fall into a little state like I'm I don't have I'm not valuable because I don't have anything to do. They
hmm
completed the mission, and some people don't know how to retire,
hmm
and you see it. But yeah, as far as services, man, top notch, top notch.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie.
Okay, and certainly King made the point here. Certainly for those who, if you do talk bad about the VA, they aren't properly doing or they're doing things themselves. So maybe they need some better guidance in terms of how to navigate through the VA and whatnot. But like I said, just over my life, it's been a mixed bag. But I know that certainly there have been some changes in the last few years, certainly in the last maybe 10 years, where it seems like the care has certainly improved. And as you said, they're starting to take an emphasis now on mental health, whereas back then, like they used to call it, being shell shocked back in the day. But now they're starting to treat those kind of things a lot more seriously than what it may have been in the past. So I'm glad that certainly they're moving or have moved certainly in that direction. But let's talk about a few terms here. So again, for some of you guys might not be, you may already kind of understand these things, but just understanding when picking insurance, things that you need to certainly be mindful of, the premiums that you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, the deductible, whether or not when you go to a doctor, sometimes it could be just a flat, like a $10 deductible, $15 deductible, or percentage deductible. Same thing with co-payments if you go over a certain amount, waiting period. So these are just things you want to just be mindful of when you do go start searching for medical insurance. And this is sometimes we got to read the fine print in terms of what is covered by a certain plan. So you have the companies, and then you have plans, and there's tiers even within the plans. And then you also have to worry about things such as networks, whether or not you go visit. Typically, if you visit a doctor inside a network, it's going to be cheaper than going outside of a network. Now, again, you might have an affinity for a particular doctor or specialist, and you don't necessarily want to move, especially if, let's say, if your health insurance changes and you're with a new network and they say, hey, you know what, this doctor is in the top tier within our network, and so they're going to charge you more for the services, and that may be more out of pocket that you have to pay for seeing that person out there. Again, these are things that you want to, again, do research on. If you have a list of doctors that you have already, any plan that you want to consider, you might want to reach out to those offices and ask, do you take this insurance? And some of these guys is like, no, we don't take them, or they might have had Aetna back in the day, or Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever it was. They may not take that. Now, Coach, are you with your insurance? You basically have to go to a VA hospital. You just can't go to anybody when it comes to your medical care. You have to go to someone within a VA hospital or VA network.
The network, yes. The unique thing about it, right? Because I've done it several times before. Your primary care will more likely be through a VA hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of VA hospitals in each state. Maybe one, like I'm in Indiana. It used to be 20 miles from me. Now it's 100 miles from me.
Oh, wow.
But I'm also close to Kentucky, which is the VA is 20 miles from me now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to go to Indianapolis, where I've been going they would pay me mileage to go there and back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a specialty examination, when they were first started testing me, this is how I know the community care sometimes be on BS, right? So when I started having the issues and complaining to the doctor about my issues, she'll sign me a community care here in Southern Indiana, right? They go and draw in 8 vials of blood. They come back with nothing. You know what I'm saying? Then I'll talk to the doctor again. When I visit, I say, listen, I still want to get this checked out because they still hadn't. She set me up with the VA. They took 3 x-rays and called me the next day, say, yeah, man, you got arthritis all through your back and shoulders and hands.
Mm.
See, they will, in some examinations, they will assign you in the community. So if they can't do it there, I think King said it, yeah, they will find people within and almost every network, Brother Bennett, takes the VA money.
Mm.
Every network, it don't matter. They will find the service provider in your area, whether you're going to physical therapy, you're going to get a therapist, TRICARE, meaning someone can come in. TRICARE is for your dependents. They pay for my wife's prescriptions. They pay her mileage when she goes. And if we go outside, there's no net. It's like no outside network.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one.
Now, your wife, she's military also?
No, she gets everything under my military.
Okay, I was going to ask you that also. So because your coverage, your VA coverage covers the family,
Yes.
not just yourself.
Yes. If my son wanted to go to college, they would pay for it up to age 26.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
he would get a check for $1,500. Plus,
Wow.
he can apply for financial aid.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? So it's a lot of benefits, especially in the healthcare and insurance, and they provide a supplemental, like we talk life insurance policy for maybe $20 a month, up to I think 40, $50,000. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Shout out for King again. I use community care for my heart as I have a
hmm
cardiologist specialist, John
oh, okay,
Hopkins. Oh, good.
yeah, you're good.
VS covers it. Oh, VA covers it.
hmm
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
they pay for it.
Because
I'll say
Andy
this
has
way.
TRICARE. Yep, nice.
In reference to insurances, people, your employee handbook, read that carefully when it goes to the insurance, right? So you know what that cap is for the year. So just read the employee handbook because you'll find out what your employer will cover, certain things like that. This alleviates a lot of extra.
First, says we have the same rating. My kids uses chapter 35 to love it. What's chapter 35?
It's just a number that they give for your dependents to go to school and get benefits
Okay,
for education, whether it's trade school, traditional state college, something like that. two
gotcha,
year or 4 year. But
gotcha.
they give you 48 months. So
Okay, all right, nice, nice. Now you kind of sort of led to the next point. You talked about certainly through the VA, you can have kids on until 26. The ACA typically has a lot of those same rules. So again, typically if you have parents who have health insurance, generally because of the ACA, and again, I don't know what's going to happen in the future with that, or the change. Obviously we have the political issues when it comes to certain things or whatnot. So whether or not things stay, I'm only going to talk about it from what it is now, a U.S. perspective, and as things stand presently. But again, these things may change in the future. But again, this is also a reason why you might want to jump on board some of these things while you have time until things change. So again, the idea is, there's various questions that a young person may ask. And so I just wanted to kind of go through some of those questions here. So again, under 26, can you join your parents' health care plan? And there's some additional questions. Do I have to be a dependent? It's like, no, the law does not require an adult child to be a taxed dependent in order to enroll in their employee sponsored coverage. So I'm seeing this now. Like my daughters, they have jobs, they have work, but I told them, it's like, why get your company's health insurance now when you can be under me until 26? So I'd rather you save that money if you want to invest it more into your 401 or whatever you want to do. Put that money elsewhere, but don't necessarily put it into getting health insurance at this point when we're covering. Like I said, my wife, she gets it to the state. It's probably going to be better than what they're offering. So it's like stay here, but it doesn't mean like we got to pay all your bills and everything. As long as you are you could be working, you have your career, and still be covered by us until that time. They don't put any restrictions or income caps or limits on that. You can certainly stay on certainly until 26. So that's not an issue. Another
Brother Bennett,
question. Yeah,
I was just how old is your oldest daughter?
it's interesting. She's just turned 26.
Oh,
So she's
okay.
got through this year, but there might be some additional caveats that we're offering because she's still in medical school, or she will still be in medical school
Okay.
past 26. Now, typically, the medical school requires her to purchase some type of insurance,
Sure, yeah.
but there might be an option still. She might be able to stay on our house. But right now, she turned 26 in January. So certainly she's covered for the rest of this year. Next year, but that gives us time to see if maybe we even keep her on longer, especially the fact that she is in medical school. That sometimes gives you some additional options. Another question, again, I am 21 and married. Can I be covered by my parents' health care plan? Yes. The law allows for both married and unmarried children to remain on their parents' employee-sponsored health plan until 26. However, this will not cover your spouse or your children. So that, again, that's a limitation there. So again, you can certainly be fully employed. You could certainly be married, but again, It's not meant to cover your family. If in that situation, that's when you really might want to start looking at your own. But if, for example, if she has it, or she has something that can cover the kids or whatever, then you might want to take advantage of that. Again, that to me, that's almost like a shopping thing. Like if you have doctors, if you have specialists that you know are covered in your in the plan that your parents have, that's something you have to look at. And if it's better there, then that might be a reason to stay. But she may want to get some base coverage for her and the kids, so that might be a reason why you might want to have two sets of plans. You're not paying anything for your parents' plan, but for your wife, then she may want to get something for her and the kids. So again, that's something you have to play with a little bit. But again, do your research on that so you know what the best option is. But again, it doesn't limit you just because you're married.
So, Brother Bennett, what does it say about a child who may not doesn't have any stipulations? Meaning, you have a child who's not on the coverage, right? But then they get married and decides can they go on the parents' coverage at that
Yeah,
point?
it's just like I said, but it would only cover them.
Yeah, so
It
it's
wouldn't
through
cover. It
age
wouldn't cover the family.
26. So you go through age 26. That's the way its language is.
Yeah.
It's through, meaning you just turn, even though you have to be on
Right.
that
So like I said, my daughter,
26.
she turned 26 in January, so she's going to be covered through December 31st
Yeah.
of this year, and then we have to maybe look at some additional options. But again, there might be an additional option where she can stay on the plan. And yes, even though these slides say Obamacare is really ACA, whatever you want to call it, we're basically talking about the same thing. Another question here. I have employee-sponsored coverage. Can I enroll in my parents' plan? No. So again, your parents' plan only has to cover you if you are not offered job-based insurance. So even if it's more expensive, you will not be able to enroll in your parents' plan. So again, that's something. Once you enroll in someone else's, you can't be in your parents at the same time. And so hopefully that'll be clear to everybody. Next question. I used to have job-based insurance. Will I be able to enroll in my parents' plan? This actually should be yes. You will be able to re-enroll in your parents' plan if you have lost your job-based insurance. Now, this is big because I know in New Jersey, they got this thing called COBRA. I don't know if it's in all different states, but typically for people, I've been in jobs where there's been mass layoffs, so you lose your job and you're looking for insurance or whatnot. So COBRA used to be an option. COBRA was very expensive. Now, let's say if you do lose your job as a young person, and you had insurance, you can re-enroll and get under your parents' plan until that situation changes. And so that's a benefit of your parents' plan also, as long as they have it. Young, and I've seen it. Like I've had daughter, my middle daughter, she had three jobs for the first year. Just situations, jobs got taken away and things of that nature. So yeah, she was never stressed about having insurance, even if the job offered it. But again, at this point, there's no reason for them to take it until age 26, right? So again, so that's something to consider. Another question. I got a couple more questions here. I'm over 26. Can I enroll in my parents' plan? Now, the question is maybe. Some states have extended coverage past the minimum age stated by the Affordable Care Act. However, there may be some restrictions to this type of coverage. If you fall into this group and don't meet the requirements, you may want to apply for an individual plan. So again, these are some caveats there. It may be based on the states. That's why I'm going to be researching over this year and to see, given my daughter now by next year, she should be back here to start doing some of her clinical work. So we'll see about, can she stay on when she's back in the States and whatnot, and will she have coverage there? That is something that we're going to explore this year to see if we can, keep her on for an extra year or so. Again, especially since she's pursuing a career in medicine. And the last question, that I thought would be relevant here. I live in a different state than my parent. Can I be covered under their plan? Yes, but you'll probably be restricted to a network within your parents' home state. While you would be covered for emergencies, you more than likely would not have coverage for doctor's visits while living out of state. Living out of state plan was issued in. If this is your situation, you may want to consider one of the exchanges that's available in your state, and you may even qualify for premium subsidies to help with the bills each month, as well as cost sharing subsidies and limits. So again, this gets a little more exotic, but typically speaking, you got to look at what's going on in your state to see if something like that would apply. And speaking of just applying for coverage, there's one thing I did want to share. There's a website that you can go to where you can start looking at applying for coverage. Let me just make sure I have it up. Ooh, I just had it a minute ago. Where is it? I just had it. While I look for a coach, any thoughts that you have before I bring this up?
Just I don't think really. I don't think people really dive into the nuances of the need for insurance and
Mm-hmm.
um, having it, and I guess the intricate parts of it, as far as being out of state, being able to have access to certain coverages. Finding a provider. I think it's just now, just even in reading it out or diving into a little bit more outside of my own situation. I think I'm also sort of spread the word to others who may be in that situation. Young parents, young men looking at getting insurance, health insurance, because they do offer certain plans and premiums. When you are single, you see it now. It's like even the smaller health entities are sort of have their little plan for the, I guess, people on the lower spectrum of income. It's important to have it. So, and just the age group, as far as the age, to make sure you have it. And if your parents do have a solid plan, definitely talk to them about going on their plan, help you save some money. Because they're going to pay for it anyway. It's unfortunate whether you have one family member or five family members;
Or
those
10.
prices, the premiums.
It's almost like an incentive. You should have more kids, man. You might as
Yeah,
well have 10. You might as well have 10 because it's gonna be this. You won't pay the same. You won't pay the same price. So you might as well get. More coverage if you can swing it. So yeah, that they. Yeah,
I was
it's interesting. They don't put any restrictions on the number of kids that you have.
yeah, I was working a job and they wanted $220 for family a paycheck.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm glad I don't have to pay for insurance.
Yeah.
I could $220. That's almost $500 a month. Just coming. I knew it was doomed then. This was in the early 2000s, probably 2003, 2004. I was like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but the health industry gets quite a bit off the dollar.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm still looking for that, so hopefully I'll bring it up in a minute. Let me just move on to, I guess, the last what wanted to cover tonight, and this has to deal with the savings accounts that you can get. I mean, for some reason, I didn't use this early on, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't use it sooner. And Coach, I don't know if there's if the military has a similar. Well, I'm assuming you can because there are individual plans that you can get. So you have these savings accounts, these FSA and HSA savings accounts. I think these can really be good tools to help save some money. I mean, the big thing about these type of accounts is that the money that's contributed to them is taken out pre-tax. So again, you're going to be paying overall. You're going to be paying less taxes because again, the money's taken out before your taxes are calculated. So that's a big savings right there. And the main differences between the two is FSA accounts, they're offered through your employer. Sometimes your employer may give you contributions towards that up to $2,700 a year. The HSA can be owned by a private individual, and you have ownership over that. And certainly it can go up $3,550 for an individual, $7,100 as a family. This is a way for you to help save up for, if not like it's not going to cover like major surgery. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a major accident, but you'll be surprised at some of the little costs that you accumulate over time, just from getting. I just got like some glasses recently. I spent $300-400 because I got progressives, and so that depending on the frames you get, you can spend up to $600 on a pair of glasses. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of expenses that you don't think about. Yeah, there you go. So there's just a lot of things that you don't think about. That's like, if you're going to be spending that kind of money, can I get some sort of savings, or can I get a way to spend and save some money at the same time? So certainly using these is a way to do that. Now the restrictions on an FSA is typically you can only roll over up to $500. Again, depending on your employer, some don't allow you any rollovers at all. It's basically a thing, if you don't use it at the end of the year, you lose it. So again, there's no accumulation that you can do over time. In HSA, you can accumulate and roll those funds over year, and there's even investment possibilities for that money that you accumulate. So let's say if you're just putting it on the side, it's coming out pre-tax. It's not in a 401 or anything like that, but you could still put it into a marketplace, and you can still use that as a vehicle to grow income and to generate additional revenue for yourself. Here's another slide that talks about, again, the differences between them. So again, in both situations, again, the money comes out pre-tax, but like we were saying before, certainly there's no rollover. So again, the big difference, again, but the FSA, so you lose money if you don't use it, whereas with the HSA, the money will stay in as you use it. But then again, look at where the benefits are. Look at what you can spend on. Because one thing I'm thinking now, like people getting these smartwatches and trackers and whatnot. Like I said, we talk about eyeglasses. Sometimes gym memberships are covered. If you need certain dental work that you want done, again, just things that maybe not even covered by traditional dental insurance, like any kind of cosmetic procedures dentally. A lot of that stuff's not going to be covered by insurance. But if you're able to take that money out and put it into account and keep it there, certainly that is something that you can use. And also the nice thing about these type of accounts, the money is available right away. So basically it's in your enrollment period where you designate how much you want to set aside in your FSA or HSA account. So let's say if you want to put in, say, $2,500, that money is available immediately. And what they do is every pay period, they're going to take out whatever you designate. They're going to take that money out and replenish that account until that amount is paid off. So it's not like you got to wait a year to save up that $2,500 before you can use it. You can use that money immediately, and just anything that you spend every pay period. So divide the money that's set up at the upper limit of your account. Let's say if it's $2,500, they're going to take out every pay period an amount that's going to match or to try to replace or replenish that $2,500. And so, so certainly, so I think it's an excellent tool to use. And again, if you go to, when you sign up, you'll be surprised, over-the-counter drugs, Tylenol, aspirin, antihistamines, prescriptions. Like I said, a lot of these prescriptions still have copays on them. And so all that stuff can add up. I think sometimes we may think that these things aren't worth it because, again, it's not the big bill. But like anything else, anything that over time, you get a pair of glasses, you get a smart tracker, like I said, you go to the gym, or you just getting certain things that you need, toiletries, just even some toiletries I saw. I'm like, HSA covers that, and if you go like to Amazon now, a lot of the advertisements they have on Amazon, it'll say this is HSA FSA eligible, but you'll be surprised what is covered by these plans. And so I think this is certainly something that I encourage people to certainly take advantage of, especially if you think you may have need of certain medications. I know, for example, vitamins. From what I understand, vitamins aren't necessarily covered unless those vitamins are prescribed by a doctor. Those wouldn't necessarily be covered, or supplements, protein shakes, and stuff. Again, unless those are under doctors or like you have to have those things. I think those things you may have to explain a little bit more. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what you have available to you from these plans. So, Coach, have you had any experience, or does your VA plan or just how you set up in the military? Do they give you some sort of FSA, or are there like HSA plans that are available as a military person that you could buy through the military, or would you have to kind of go outside and look at an option like that?
No, in my situation, none of this applies to me.
Okay.
None of what I need is I can get free pair of glasses every year. I get progressives. These glasses here were provided through the VA, and they are prescription glasses. But these are last year's glasses. These are this year's glasses. Um, if I want to purchase an extra pair, I can do that. I typically do that. That's where my Ray-Bans, I purchase them through the VA. But yeah, they're going to give you almost everything. Like I said, there are some veterans, depending on their ratings through the VA, as far as on the disability scale, that may have a copay.
Hmm.
A lot of veterans still use other insurances. Um, I'm in a priority one group, meaning dental, and you don't get free dental until you get up into that group. Now, my wife always been in the medical field, but she's in management, and this HSA plan, she's always privy to that, and she doesn't pay a copay for that. She pays uh, a, a premium add in me, which is $15-20 a paycheck
Hmm.
when it comes to the medical part. And we usually have a separate credit card with a nice dollar amount that covers co-pays, that covers visits, um, and then with me having the VA, anything medically related, we never had those costs, since we've been together. But
Hmm.
she's always in the HSA side of it to where,
Okay, so she utilized it, but you haven't had a need to, because a lot of your stuff's covered already.
yeah, I don't, yeah, like I said, this is just information for me
Hmm.
because I never had to apply any of this, but learning her side, she's under the HSA part of it from a management level, and they pay very little overhead, because we have a credit card with 7,000 every year that she wants to make sure we sort of use it, and it's just a lot of it is on dental and glasses and stuff that she really needs because me, I can call my doctor right now and I send her a message and I could have that appointment set up or prescription sent out and renewed within 24 to 48 hours. So,
Nice, nice. Yeah, good deal. I mean, definitely. I'm glad to hear that. Again, the military does a very good job of again, taking care of its vets. Again, King had another comment here. Coach, I'm so thankful for TRICARE and VA. My budget would be very different paying
yes,
for
it is.
what I've seen other people pay for health care. So I'm glad to hear that
Salute to you,
that they're
brother.
doing it. So I want to get back to, so just real quick then, because you talked about those who are not Where do you think the disconnect is then? If you have
Uh,
certain persons talking about, the VA is terrible or it's not good care, they're not taking care of people. Where do you think that disconnect? Where's that coming from? And besides the folks that have been dishonorably discharged.
a lot, brother Bennett, a lot of older veterans want to do what they want to do, and the VA is always going to make sure you get the service.
Mm,
Prime example: I worked with veterans through Volunteers of America when I was in Chicago a few years before, I was going to retire. I said, let me go work with some veterans. So my job was to get veterans the resources they needed from housing. I would take them to get furniture. I would talk to landlords, pay rents, pay back rents. We paid a lady one time, one of my clients, we paid $8,000 of her from getting evicted. But look, this was the second time she'd been through the services because she was there before I got there. So, and look, I talk to people, I talk to veterans, so I get the truth. She, her whole problem was she was gambling her money away,
oh no.
So, but she was a veteran and she was getting the
Right.
services. I
Mm,
had veterans, old guy, prime example. He used to get $3,000, $4,000 a month. Guess where he wanted to be? He wanted to be outside. He was probably about 75, 76. He would go to a little shelter because they would let you stay for about 30 days. He'd get his little
mm,
check. First of the month, he disappeared for a couple of weeks.
mm.
He was outside. Then the place was still trying to make sure he got the resources. So I would go over there a couple times a month to try to catch up with him. Never did. I saw him one time. We had a conversation. He looked like he wasn't interested anyway. So what I had to do, still with the resources that's provided, I had to find him an apartment. I got him an apartment. We paid the first 3 months rent up front. He never showed up. So that's why I say it's important. Any veteran that complains about it, disarm or discharge. Or they want to do what they want to do. They've been in charge. Especially older veterans, they get a little stubborn.
Mm,
And I worked at veterans' homes. I used to go to these places. It was crazy, but I loved it because I'm a veteran and I'm talking to them about, listen, you have this opportunity. Homeless, you say you homeless, you're a veteran, they go find you housing immediately. You hungry, they gonna have because they have other resources out. It's so many resources that they provide. Now
mm.
it's up to that individual to take it.
Yeah.
That's the
Now,
thing.
do you think that the some of that it could it be brain injury or like I said the PTSD or something like it's because it seems like some of these decisions that a lot of these people are making aren't out of rational decision making, especially when you've been in something that very regimented. You're taught to be very orderly and methodical and things like that. So for people to have this kind of making these type of decisions, are these even rational ones to make? Because like anything else, like with a mental patient, it's almost impossible to get them to do what they don't want to do. So do you think maybe it is because of maybe some of the trauma from the military that some of these people are making the decisions that they want to make, but you can't really tell them
But
anything.
but the only trauma,
And I'm only asking that because I'm not judging.
no,
I'm just
no,
serious asking a
but
question.
the only trauma that I can rate to the connect to the military is when you go into conflict. The times where America has gone into conflict.
Hmm.
Even in the Gulf War, it was a 3 day combat. We didn't have as many on the ground soldiers as it was, right? But if you're in a position and your job is to delete people, that could be emotionally draining. When you
Yeah,
sit back and think about it and get out, that's why I always recommend if you go in the military, don't take no infantry, nothing artillery, because that's what you're trained to do. Even
yeah,
that's why Marines is hard to adjust.
right.
But again, it wasn't something as big as far as making sure that they had those resources outside the service. Because a lot of soldiers said, I can do it. And now when they start getting up in age, they realize they're not as important as they were when they was in the military because the military makes sure you have something to do.
Hmm.
It's going to always improve you. You ain't gonna never have opportunity to just think you're gonna sit around and not go to the next level. They're gonna make sure of that.
Hmm.
Now, if you decide not to do it, they're gonna say you're a failure to adjust. and they'll kick you out. I had a soldier like that. You ain't trying to advance, get out. They'll put you out.
Mm-hmm.
They make and it ain't, and they still won't give you a dishonorable discharge. They'll just say, uh, it'll say under honorable conditions, meaning you ain't complete your term and you just got out because you ain't want to get in shape. You ain't want to learn how your skill, because everybody that goes in learns a job. And if you don't want to learn it, you ain't trying to take the advancements, they'll say, get out. You're not fit for the military.
Right.
But then I don't think they look at the long-term effects, because once they get out here, you've been out of the military 6-7 years, you haven't taken advantage of going back to school, because they provide. This is what I loved about the GI Bill. You pay $100 for 1 year, a month, $1,200. When you get out, they'll pay for 4 years of school. And they're going and when I was in school, it's like $600, $800 less, because now they will give you $1,400, $1,500 a month,
Mm-hmm.
pay your tuition, you buying books, sometime housing, but also you can work a full-time job and go to school, and they're going to still pay you. Whatever money you make outside of that has no effect. Some people take their jobs and they go on to go to school. Just exactly what I did. When I got out of the military, I said, go back to college. Went back to college, they paid for everything. And I went on another chapter to where I had vocational rehab. They pay for everything, books, everything. I didn't pay for anything, Brother Bennett. Paper, pencils, got me a computer. I would still apply for my financial aid. I would get $5,000 or $6,000 back every semester. And at that time, which I didn't need it, I could have took out a $60,000 student loan and they'd have paid it all back.
Mm.
It's totally different today, because now under that new George Bush, the post Iraq 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
the benefits are 10 times better. It's a lot better because everything is increased. Of course, they just gave the soldiers extra 4 or 5% raise just over the last month or two.
Mm-hmm.
But when they get out, it's the insurance medical part is a solid lock on the top tier, because the military, the treatments that you get in civilian doctors, the military's already gotten it. They've already gotten that technology 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the early 2000s, they was doing acupuncture on me.
Mm.
Professional in there.
And that's covered? Yeah.
Covered. I never pay. I walk.
So that in chiropractic, that's
covered.
That's nice.
I've been stretched, flipped upside down. Physical therapy. I got physical therapy Monday.
Mm.
Every MRI. MRIs are expensive.
Yeah.
I've had 2 or 3 in a year. Surgery, everything. They used to listen when I was in the service. When they discovered that I had the injury that I had, they used to fly me from Louisiana to San Antonio, Texas, and pay me $150, $200, and pay for food and hotel and everything.
Wow.
Then somebody told me I could drive. Then I was getting a $400 check, and I just drive over, enjoy the weekend, see the San Antonio Spurs. When I got out, I was still getting the free services. They encourage you to do this. They set you up with service providers who will say, hey, we want what you want to do. You want to go to school, you want to get a job, you want to get a skill trade. Okay, what you like? You'll take these entrance exams, like you do to find out what your interests are. Because a lot of people that go in this infantry and something in the artillery, you might be in the field, Brother Bennett, 25 days a month, learning how to play Army games. Me, I was construction. So when we go to the field, maybe once every 3, 4, about once every 6 months, because they always gonna make sure you know how to do combat.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were back 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, we were going on projects to do construction around the base. If something need to be fixed, me and this one guy, little Mexican Dave, we used to always get assignments to go work at the headquarters to do little carpentry projects. Back then, the little panel roofing, we used to do a lot of that. We even built our unit during the field exercise. They had set it up to where we was going to build a watchtower for the airstrip.
Hmm.
Because military planes, they
Yeah.
were, and we built the watchtower, man. We used to be climbing up on poles, man, and with saws. We built we went to El Paso, Texas, out of Louisiana. We went down to El Paso for 2 months. We built a firing range for Border Patrol. And I was a carpenter. We had plumbers, electricians, and the earth movers, the ones that drive the big
Yeah.
bulldozer.
Yeah.
We were all together.
Mm.
We had our own squads, but we were all together when it came to projects. And everybody would just do their little section of projects. So again, and when you get hurt, you go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? It's so many resources that anybody that joins the military, if they go in, do their job well, they're going to get their promotions. You get hurt, you go to the doctor, get it in your medical records. You get out, you can be getting $3,000-$4,000 a month, going to school, paid for. Start your own business. It's now this big. Starting your own business. They will provide you all the training and the resources to start your own business in whatever it is. So, and again, a lot of it you're starting to see now. And I said, veterans are starting to congregate together and have these conversations about emotions and things like that, and
Mm.
starting to work it out. It's
Yeah.
more focused on that now, but in reality, most soldiers that go in and take care of their business, unless something drastic happens, most of them will do pretty well. And if you listen to people who've been in the military, even on YouTube, most have a mindset that they won't fail, that they will overcome whatever it is.
Mhm.
But I'll say this again, the big thing, even with that, even though we try to be Mike, still make sure you get your checkups, your health checkups, make sure you're following up with your recommendations of your doctor, and, taking on your own exercise regimen, you're eating healthy, so you can continue to be a resource to not just your family, but to the community.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think you certainly shed a lot of light on those benefits. I don't know, certainly for young people who may be considering a military career. Certainly, on the health side, that you certainly get some benefits that sound very that sound very enticing. In addition to educational opportunities that might be available, so that may be something to take a look at. But there's one thing I did want to share before I left. I was looking for this earlier. I must have closed the window. If you're looking to apply for insurance, you can certainly go to the ACA website. But this one in particular, I found pretty interesting. If you want to go here, so this is healthapplication.com, healthapplication.com, and it's basically it's a portal. They also have a lot of good information here. So again, a lot of the questions I was asking, answering tonight for those for those under 26, could you still join your plans? This website certainly is a portal to a lot of those for information. If you want to learn more about your healthcare options, but if you want to start applying for, so if you have, depending on the state that you're in, or if you want to apply for federal ACA, you just click on the link and it'll take you to that website that has the the sign up for it. So again, you can go there if you're applying for a particular state. This here lists all the states where you can kind of go to their websites and start to sign up for their coverage and whatnot. So this is just a start. If you're thinking about buying it outside of an employer plan or supplementing what you have, this is a place to go to. So again, healthapplications.com. So it'll give you the portals to get to if you want to apply for, like I said, the marketplace and whatnot. That's a good place to start. But it's a good place to get information if you have questions. They have a lot of information there that you can use. So I just wanted to share that before we certainly close out the show. But I think, Coach, we can certainly put a bow on this. So just to kind of summarize, yes, I mean, even as a young person, healthcare is important, Look at your options. If you're under 26, if you can still be a part of your parents' plan, and if you're not married with dependents, certainly is something to stay on and save that money that you would have paid for your private insurance or your employer-based insurance. Save that money and do more positive and constructive things with it. Also consider the FSA and HSA accounts as a good way for you to buy medical supplies and things that you need, while all at the same time saving some tax money, because again, you're able to take that money out pre-tax. And so again, I think it's a flexible spending tool that can certainly save you a lot more over the long run. Not everything that you pay has to be out of pocket. And then certainly if you're a veteran, and if you did have issues with the VA or their lack of services at the VA, it could simply just be a matter of just getting with the right people to put you in the right rooms and in the right conversations to get the information that you need. And so certainly, Coach, he seems to, certainly have a lot of information. So does King. And certainly, appreciate that, King. So, yeah, I mean, King, this is something you might want to cover, especially just given I don't know if you've covered this in the past. I know you have your morning show, certainly on Facebook. You do a Facebook Live every morning. This might be something that, you might want to introduce based on your medical history about what's available, what's truly available for vets at the VA. And if guys are not informed, then guys like you and Coach, you can help them get informed. But like Coach said, you can lead the horse to water, you can't make them drink. And if people want to stay out there, stay homeless, or stay just out because they want to be stubborn about it, then that's on them. But at least you share the information that they can certainly benefit the way you and Coach have certainly benefited from the services that the VA offers. And then I'll pass this information on next time if I hear talk to a guy and he's talking about the VA's not very good or whatever, then I may say, look, you need to talk to my guy Coach or Trey King and get
question, brother.
What's that?
Just ask him the question: is he honorable or dishonorable?
That's it. I may get into a fight after.
No.
What you mean? You think I was dishonorably discharged?
No. You don't know, because that way he will let you know if he really want the services. That's the caveat. That's the only thing that I know that would keep a soldier from receiving the services.
Right.
Is a dishonorable discharge.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I would probably still put in there too. Again, if you're not because of your experience, if you're not thinking properly, then again, if you can't make rational decisions, then that's a problem. So, I don't want to exclude.
I asked them to go to VA.gov and the VFW, American Legions, and it's one more. They all have service providers that service veterans in the community. That's what they for. So if you know where VFW is, it doesn't matter, chapter or American Legion. And it's one more, I forget, maybe King no, but it's 3. And go to those community providers. They have so many resources.
All right, so that's a question I have all, because I've heard of VFWs and I've heard of the American Legions and whatnot. I don't know exactly what they do, because the only perspective that I have is that they're watering holes. You'll see a VFW hall or whatever, and it's just some guys going there. It's mostly a bar, and they're having the drinks and hanging out. I don't know what they do. And sometimes they get out formal when it comes to Memorial Day weekend or Veterans Day or something. They'll put on some show or something, but I never knew what they did. So maybe in a couple minutes, maybe if you want to enlighten on what the purpose of these organizations truly is, because again, from the outside, it's just guys just hang out. That's their local bar spot. I know I wouldn't go in there because I'm not a veteran, so I don't know if I'd be welcome in there. They look at me and they be asking me for when were you in, rank, serial number. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I'm totally ignorant when it comes to DAV. There you go. Yeah. So I'm totally ignorant when it comes to that kind of stuff, but that's all I see. There's a VA, there's a VFW type of Legion place, just literally I walk my dog by it almost every day, and I never, I was kind of curious, but I didn't never know. It's
Yeah.
just guys in their pickup trucks and they go in there and they have their drinks. Sometimes they have their barbecues or something. There's another VFW that I pass by frequently. Again, same thing. It's just a bar, but I don't know if it's beyond that. So if you want to,
It's definitely beyond that. The thing
okay,
about it is for veterans by veterans, right?
mm-hmm.
So if you was to go, let's just say you happen to go in there wondering there, right? Of course, somebody would probably ask you, where'd you serve? Did you serve? Boom. If you did not, maybe you going in there to provide some, a veteran who said that they don't have all of these opportunities of service, they would direct you with the right information to give to the veteran. They'll probably even tell you, bring the veteran in, and they will service the veteran, get the veteran moving. But it is just a lot of guys, regular veterans, who have a meeting space, and when these new updates come through about veterans benefits, veterans information, housing, family, the VFW, the DAV, and American Legion gets that information first,
Mm-hmm.
right? So where I'm at, when I was living in Chicago, I had a choice because I never really learned about it because I was going straight through the VA hospital. But then somebody said you can get a service provider. Okay, cool. I went to American Legion. I didn't go to VFW or the DAV. I went to American Legion, and I've always been able to get the resources that I did. Right. So when I moved, I got attached to the American Legion here regionally, but I also got attached to American Legion in DC.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got to the one in DC, my resources increased, and they were actually doing a better job than the local ones in getting me the funds needed. I've went through the VRE, maybe Actual King in the last 4 or 5 years. They had a VRE program where they pay for you. That's just in 22 to 23. It paid for my Divide web design certificate,
Mm-hmm.
paid for the entire program, and paid me monies of over $1,000 just going to school online, and that was great. But again, those places that may look small in some places,
Mm-hmm.
some they may have like little ballroom areas, but it's individuals who designated a location within a community to service veterans.
Now, who funds these these
If
places? Is
if
it
I'm
government
correct,
funded? Or,
it's government funded, maybe through the state. I'm not sure if it's just
okay.
straight through the government or state. However, anybody within that state, anybody, because it's more than one. It's probably depending on your state. It's probably
Oh yeah, like I said, I see 'em- like I
well,
said, I see them all over, and it's like it's almost kind of like the same blueprint. It's usually older guys. I don't see a lot of young people there. I
yeah,
mean, it's older guys, older
all
vets,
the veterans, yeah.
maybe Vietnam, or
Mhm.
Desert Storm
There's a storm in
type of guys. And
9/11.
again,
Yeah,
they just hang out. Like
regular
I don't,
guys.
you
A
know,
lot of them just regular soldiers, brother Bennett. They work. A lot of them work, and that's a place where they can come and talk old
yeah,
war stories and where the
exactly,
old
exactly, yeah,
memorabilia.
yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. That's a resource that's always going to be available to any soldier. Say a
right,
soldier may be going through some emotion issues, some mental struggles. They're going to put them in. They're going to connect them with those community resources.
hmm,
That's why I
yeah,
say any veteran that complains about the VA, they're not ready to engage in what the VA has to offer. Prime example, and I shut up. My own father, veteran, Vietnam era veteran. I didn't know until later that he started to develop his drinking problem back then. The military said, hey, you need to go to AA. So he sort of used that against them throughout most of his life. I never understood why he never didn't get the Vietnam services. My father has all kind. He was a weird guy looking back. He had accommodations and shit through the military. I'm like, dude, you get everything. You probably, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna make sure that he didn't do it. He
hmm,
finally did it when he was a little older. They gave him 45% off the bat.
hmm,
You know, so he started getting a little check about $600 a month.
right,
But the services that they provide, man, a lot of guys had that type of pride because he wasn't the only one. I'm like, man, if y'all don't go get these VA services, and when a lot of them do, they thankful that they did because now all of that overhead costs when it came to sicknesses and illnesses and paying all of that, they didn't have to pay that.
Yeah.
But a lot of them want to drink and use drugs, and the VA will make sure that you go in the VA, they gonna ask you, do you drink? How often do you drink? You smoke? Well, I'm gonna sign you up for NA, AA, and get you some mental services that
So
you need.
given that a lot of these VA locations do serve alcohol, I mean, is that a good place? I mean, to go if you have those vices, is that a good place to hang out in? Shout out to King. VFW is funded through through dues, private donations, and on-site sales, and then they also advocate. They also do advocacy for in DC for veterans' rights and bills that cover us. Thank you for providing that information.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. Again, it comes down to those veterans, man. If they want the services, it's there. It's so many, but that pride thing kept steps in because, people take pride in their service. And,
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say if you injured, go get it checked out. Do
Mm-hmm.
it now. So it's just unique, man. Salute
I
the
got
king,
you.
man.
I got you. Well, we can start to certainly land this plane again. Hopefully, this is instructional. King, appreciate the comments earlier. Next week, we're going to get into auto insurance, and so that'll sort of complete the trifecta: life insurance, auto insurance, health insurance, and auto insurance. Maybe go into a little bit of auto buying. But we already had a couple of conversations that have already been stirred tonight. One being on again choosing your friends, especially how do you maintain good relationships, especially if you know guys who may have done time or whatnot. So again, I'm definitely looking forward to a conversation with Coach on that type of show. I think that'll be very insightful, especially for younger people to know who to keep in your life and who you gotta let go. Sometimes that's a very tough decision, especially for young people to make. And I'm certainly inspired by that as a potential topic for certainly for a future show. And certainly I would love to I would love to certainly chop that up. But appreciate the conversation certainly tonight. And so as we go into Super Bowl, you didn't get a chance on last night's show. We did see you're picking the Seahawks by 10 or more points, and I hope that happens. But all I know is that it's going to be cold. We got another cold front coming through. No snow, but it's just going to be icy cold before. So I got all this snow here that still hasn't melted, and so the only thing I'm looking forward to doing is Super Bowl Sunday. But I did have to. You left the show. I didn't get. I had a question that I'd asked that you didn't get a chance to answer. So again, it was basically it's like one has to go, and before I get out of here, I just want to show this, and certainly the chat, King. So I want to thank you also for being here tonight and giving your giving your insights. And again, we may have future shows that are dealing with this idea of VA. And VA benefits and things that are available to veterans. I know you're a part of a lot of channels that deal with a lot of veteran content, so that might be something that comes up. But Coach, and again, this might be certainly something for the chat as well. One has to go, so this is in honor of Super Bowl Sunday. This is something that we're going to raise tonight. So let me do this. If I can get my screen to work, hang on. Close that, and let me bring this up. Here we go.
One has to go.
One has to go. All right. So, Coach, one's got to go, man. One has to go. So, King, if you're still in the chat, one has to go. So, Super Bowl Sunday. What's now again? Dip. Me personally, I put a caveat on dip because a lot of people were saying, well, dip has to be the first thing to go. But Coach, I've had some dip where we had this one lady that we know. She makes this dip, this cheesy nacho stuff with crab meat and shrimp in it, and it is ambrosia, brother. I mean, this stuff is so good that she may not even watch football, but it's like as long as she brings that dip over, life is good. So also, I'm not saying the stuff that's in the jar, the salsa in the jar, and the I'm not talking about that kind of dip or the spinach dip or whatever. I'm talking about some good home cut, the type of dip that you make in a crock pot, right? And she brings that warm, hot, that crock pot over, and that stuff is gone within 10 minutes. I'm telling you, it's that good. So for that reason, so if you talk about that, then dip is staying. For me, it's nachos. Nachos have to go. I can deal without the nachos. You're not giving up my wings and my pizza. You know what I mean? I need my protein, so definitely the wings are staying. And I gotta have my pizza. Absolutely, it's almost like not a Super Bowl party if you don't have pizza and wings. But what's your call on this one, Coach?
If I'm just looking at this picture here, it would be this particular dip. However, similar to what you stated, I make this buffalo chicken wing dip, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would take that over the regular nachos.
Gotcha.
If I could,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? But this spinach artichoke dip, I might get and I'll tell you this. The thing that I love now, I think I've started doing this about the last 20 years. I make my own nachos. I just take the tortillas, the yellow tortillas, slice them into fours, fry them in some olive oil, and I like them to get tainted a little brown. You know, just right the good. I say almost like a little lighter than his pizza complexion. Man, you talking about good? Man, I love those nachos. I don't put no seasoning on them. I just make my little dip. They're a lot healthier to me because I don't put, a lot of seasoning within the nacho. You don't need anything. But, yeah, man, I make that buffalo wing dip, man. And it's something that I don't make often. But I might make it this Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying. I said this is you bring it out.
You brought it to my mind.
But you talk about buffalo. So so what do you use? Nacho cheese. It's what you put?
It's a buffalo cheese. I got the recipe written down because I got it from somebody years ago. But it's shredded chicken, a little cream cheese. Make my own buffalo sauce, and you sort of bake it. You bake it with the cheese on it. Oh man, it'd be when it's warm.
Yeah,
and sometimes it got that right consistency.
Right.
It's not as thicky. It's a little, oh man, when the cheese just stretches out.
Like I said, if you put it in that crock pot, it'll stay. That's the thing. It'll stay there. It won't cool off. So it's constantly hot. You're constantly going back and you're going back for more, and it's always the same. So yeah. So I would say that, except the nachos. I mean, obviously, I may use some of the plain nachos for the dip, but them loaded ones that got all that stuff on top. I mean, you might as well have pizza then. If you're gonna put the carne on there and the beans and you might as well have a pizza. I mean, that's basically what a flatbread is what you're is essentially what you're putting together. So, but I thought that was fun. I thought that was certainly worth sharing, and I know you had the dip. No pun intended. You had the dip last night before we got out of there. But I just wanted to share that with everybody. But yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to next week's show again to close out the insurance series on auto insurance and auto buying, and then again looking forward to having a conversation with Coach regarding again the friends you choose, especially if you have friends who come from backgrounds who may not be like yours. What are the ones to keep? What are the ones that you may need to depart from? Again, that can be a very tricky decision. You need some wisdom there, but certainly Coach has been able to maintain some friendships with guys who might have done some time. Again, doesn't mean that these are bad people. That they've been able to rebound and make certainly a good and positive life for themselves. And so that shouldn't be a death sentence to people. But again, where do you draw the line? I mean, I think those are things that I think are definitely worth discussion. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, certainly in the near future. But with that, we're going to certainly wrap up tonight's show. And again, enjoy your weekend, however cold it's going to be. But certainly we look forward to having, again, meaningful conversation, certainly on this show, just giving two bald opinions. Take what you can use from us. Again, we're here certainly to incite or to invoke thought, that people start thinking differently about the life that they have for themselves, work on all the major areas of your life, your physical health, your intellectual health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. All these things are important so you can be a whole person. And so any time those things are neglected, then again, you're certainly worse off, and then the people all around you are going to be worse off. So we want to encourage people. We do tend to focus on younger audiences, but really anybody can really vibe with the information that we've been given. Take what you can use and pass it on to others who may be able to benefit from what me and Coach share. We have a passion for this. I have a passion for training. He has a passion for coaching, and certainly there'll be some overlap there. But we just love seeing people do better and be better despite the circumstances, and using that to encourage others. So I appreciate the platform that Sparta HQ Network gives us. Make sure you hit the like button certainly as you leave the show. Consider becoming a subscriber to the Sparta HQ Network. And so until we meet next time, I would say take care, God bless, and we will see you next time. And Pete, I got to talk to you, man, about how you arrange your Nikons, because I'm always forgetting where the outro is, but I think I just found it. God bless and have a great night, everybody. Good night.